So let's call the meeting to order of the Vermont School Boards Association on April 8th at 5 p.m. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. We have a really full agenda tonight, and we really appreciate your time. The primary focus today, as you saw in your agenda, is we are gonna do the interviews, and then we're gonna focus in working collaborative in our strategic plan. I know we have some new board members that haven't been with us for a long time. I'm thinking of you, Dwight and Stephanie, so it's exciting that you guys will be joining us in this. So I wanted to give just a little context that our strategic plan is being updated. You got the information with a little bit of homework. This is important work because it is always exciting to come together and share perspective and grow as a team. And the strategic plan for our association, it is especially important because it provides clear direction and priorities, helping us guide decisions and actions, and ensures that we're using our resources effectively, and it strengthens our ability to really support all board members across the state. And we are seeing now more than ever in everything that good governance is very important. And tonight we are gonna sort of use that hat in some ways to think about this.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just gonna join on my phone because it seems like the internet is not stable for the room, and I'll figure that out later. So again, we're gonna start with the interviews tonight. And for the interviews, I don't know what you were able to hear or not, but I'm gonna move us into the interviews because we have a lot of interviews tonight. So let's move to that part of our agenda. And then I have two other things that I have to remind you that complete the self-evaluation. Can you hear me? Just do your thumbs up. Complete the self-evaluation. I think you guys all got it. And then our next meeting is in person, and it's May 13. So make sure that you have that because you have that additional time of traveling. And then we already talked about the strategic plan, and okay, so and then again, I don't know what part or not you were able to listen on the strategic plan, but I hope is that strategic plans will be looking ahead on the next 3 or 5 years. Were you able to hear a little bit of what I was saying at the beginning? Hopefully some of that. And then we have to do our candidate interviews. As you know, we have Rutland, Western Chittenden, Addison, and Kingdom South. Mark Claw, are you with us? I'm hoping that you're with us tonight. I don't know if he was able to make it to the meeting, but Mark Claude is going to be stepping down from the board. He had mentioned that he potentially was going to stay until September, but he's feeling like it would be better to transition sooner, and so that the new person from Kingdom South will be able to participate fully in strategic planning and a retreat this summer. Are there any questions about tonight's meeting? I know I'm moving you quickly, but we have a lot to do tonight. Okay, seeing no heads or hands shaking, I'm gonna ask Amy to turn our Sue starts on that. Okay, we're gonna move into the legislative report, and go ahead, Sue.
Okay. There are four bills that we were going to cover in the legislative report tonight. The first one is H 931. It is the miscellaneous ed bill. This bill has passed the House and it's now in the Senate Education Committee. There are four main things that this bill does. First, it affects the moratorium on new independent schools by stating that a change in ownership of an existing therapeutic school does not constitute a new school that needs approval. The next one is for reasons that no one really knows, Vermont stopped being a member of the Interstate Compact for Education, which is also known as the Education Commission of the States, in the early 1990s, even though it continues to rely on this group for research and analysis, and has occasionally paid member dues. So this section of the bill reestablishes Vermont's participation in that compact. which is really a good thing because the Education Commission of the state provides a lot of good research and analysis. The bill also temporarily ensures that failure to meet class size requirements from Act 73 does not count towards state intervention timelines until the state board rules are updated or July 1, 2027, whichever comes sooner. And then finally, the bill fulfills an AOE request that the agency be included as a group that is statutorily required to conduct criminal background checks for its employees or contractors who may have unsupervised contact with students. So that is the miscellaneous ed bill, and as I said, it's currently in the Senate Education Committee. Any questions on the miscellaneous ed bill before I go on to S227? And let me know if someone appears in the waiting room and I'll just stop talking. So the next one is S227. This one is immigration protocols in Vermont schools. S227 has passed the Senate and it's now in the House Education Committee. It standardizes how Vermont public and approved independent schools handle immigration-related situations. It puts a strong emphasis on student safety, privacy, and uninterrupted access to education, and sets clear legal boundaries for interactions with federal immigration authorities. The bill does three main things. First, it protects student information and privacy. Schools are prohibited from sharing sensitive student information such as immigration status with federal immigration authorities unless required by law. And generally, schools don't collect that type of information to begin with. It also sets clear limits on immigration enforcement access to schools. Law enforcement officers on an immigration-related matter would not be allowed into non-public areas of a school unless they present identification and a valid judicial warrant naming a specific individual. And it requires every school board to adopt a formal immigration protocol policy by the beginning of the 2027-2028 school year. The policy must be at least as stringent as a model policy, which will be developed by the Agency of Education. The AOE is required to develop that model policy by January 1, 2027, in consultation with the Attorney General's Office, the VSBA, and VISA, the Vermont Independent Schools Association. Under the same timeline, the AOE and VSA are required to create model procedures. And finally, the AG's office is also responsible for providing a list of immigration-related resources by August 1, 2026, and providing it to superintendents for distribution by August 31st, 2026. So that is the S227. VSBA testified on that bill in the Senate Ed Committee and in the House Ed Committee, and provided, I think, some useful input on policies versus procedures and just making sure that all that was set out correctly in the bill. So by the time it got to House Education, it was in pretty good shape from our standpoint. Any questions? Oh, someone in the waiting room?
It's our 5:15 is in the waiting room.
Okay. Would you like me to stop there, Flor?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Let's save the other two and move it to Melissa. Yeah.
You want to turn off the
And then, good. All right, so we're back from our interviews with the different region potential candidates, and I'm looking for a motion for appointments tonight.
I'd like to make a motion, please.
Okay,
This is
so
Clayton.
so Clayton makes the motion to appoint Melissa for Western Chittenden, Patty for Rutland, Michael for Addison, and Abby for Kingdom South.
That's what I was doing.
Thank you.
That's what I did.
I second.
Second by Barbara. All those any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or
Aye.
raising your
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Aye. Looks like the ayes have it, but just for any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, we have make a decision. Thank you, everybody. Eh, Okay, we are gonna move into our legislative report, but I'm just doing a little check on time. Is 5:27. Okay, so why don't we finish up with the legislative report and then take a 5-minute break so that we can sit through the rest of the meeting? Can you do that? Okay, so Sue, let's move to the Bungart's plan.
Okay, I previously covered with you the miscellaneous ed bill and S-227, the immigration protocols. So I'll go through these pretty quickly, Flor, because we have Dave Younts coming in 5 minutes or 7 minutes. So do you want me to proceed until he
I
gets here?
I thought that David was oh, you're right, 6:35. Yeah, 7 minutes. So maybe let's take 5 minutes right now and
Okay,
we'll do our work with David Youngs, and then because otherwise you guys not gonna have the attention span, and we're gonna do this at the end of the meeting. Okay?
okay.
All right. So take 5 and we'll be back. Dave comes in.
Yes.
Thank you, Amy. That's what I was gonna say, right? Dave comes in, we'll start the recording, because we want to be able to share the recording with new board members, especially for this part of the meeting. It'll be nice for Dave to see all of you as we start, and then you guys can go ahead and turn off your cameras after, but sort of like we all were, welcome Dave to start the work together for our strategic plan. He is the consultant that we'll be working with, and I'm gonna let Sandra and Sue introduce him and lead too. So do you want to let him in? There's Dave. Hi, Dave. It's nice to see you again. Welcome to our board meetings. We were a little behind with interviews and other stuff, but we are all ready to work with you. And Sandra and Sue, I don't know if you want to do a little introduction, or Dave, if you want to just get started. I'd leave it up to you guys.
I'm happy to just say welcome, Dave, to our board. They're amazing, as we've been telling you. And we'll have a few new board members after tonight's meeting, which is great. Dave is a consultant with us, with the VSBA. He just recently joined as a search consultant, so he's been helping us with some superintendent searches, and was a former superintendent, so has a lot of experience, and he's ready to help you all through this process. Thanks for being here, Dave.
Thanks, Sandra. Hello to you and hi everyone. Some of you I know. It's good to see those of you I know, and it's nice to meet those of you that I don't know. Super quick, yeah. Former school principal in a past life, superintendent at Mill River Unified Union School District for about 8 years. Worked in the private sector for a handful of years, and currently I do two things. I work as a consultant in the Vermont education space. There's work to be done in the Vermont education space, as you know. And also by day, I spent some time as an executive director with a group called the Tutorial Center, which is the Bennington County Adult Ed nonprofit. So it's a partner organization to like Vermont Adult Learning, Central Vermont Adult Ed, the Nichols Group up in the Kingdom, just to kind of give you some context there. So I'm involved in that side of the field as well. But really grateful to be with you tonight. My time with you by design, I intend to keep it tight and succinct, but also impactful. So I want to go through a really brief set of slides just to kind of set the stage, get us to a point where you know what to expect for the next meeting, and what that looks like means I have a lot of information that I can use to prep for the next meeting. And as I'm queuing up the slides, I'd love if we could just have folks give a quick kind of intro, like name and where you're from, just so I can do a little bit of mental structure to that. That'd be wonderful. So if I call you, I know Sue very well. Amy, could I go to Amy first? Do you mind just saying hi real quick, Amy?
Hi, Dave. I'm Amy. I'm the Director of Operations at the SBA.
Thank you very much, Amy. I appreciate that. And I knew you in that context, but not on the board meeting context. So thank you for that. How about Joe Winrich?
Hi, I am Joe Winrick. I'm a Wyndham representative. I live down in Townsend, Vermont.
Very good. Understood. Gaston.
Yeah, hi, welcome. So I'm from the Troy School Board and also serve on the North Country Supervisory Union Board.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. And bear with me. I'm trying to get back so that I can see all of you, even though I just shared a little bit of screen. In the instance we're in, can you see a slide that says VSBA strategic planning?
Yeah.
Awesome. I can still see you as well. Barbara, how about you? Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Dave. I'm Barbara Postman. I'm from the Northeast Kingdom. I'm on the school board at the Lake Region Union High School, and I live in Brownington.
Great. Thank you, Barbara. Nice to meet you. Clayton from Danville, how about you?
I'm from Danville. I'm Clayton. Nice to meet you.
Guess we covered that already. Thank
Yeah, you got it all.
Flora, I know you. It's great to see you again. Jim, I know you. I'll spare you the introduction. It's wonderful to see you again. Neil, I know very well. Wonderful to see you, Neil. Tara or Tara, I want to make sure I pronounce that correctly.
Tara.
Tara, thank you.
Yeah. Tara Ernison. I'm from Richmond, Vermont. I'm the Chittenden East rep, and I'm on the MMU board.
Excellent. Thank you, Tara. Appreciate it. Debbie, I know you. Nice to see you, Debbie. How about Megan Metzler?
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm from Charlotte, and I serve on the Champlain Valley School District Board.
Excellent. Thanks, Megan. And Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hi, I'm from Peacham, and I am on the school board in Peacham. Been there 15 years.
Great to meet you, Mark. I'm going to go to the other Mark as well. I saw you. Nice, nice control and restraint there, Mark. How are you?
I knew there used to be more Marks. So I'm Mark Koenig. I'm the Director of Policy Services and Legislative Affairs for VSBA, but I was on this board for 3 years before that.
Great to meet you, Mark. Thank you. How about Dwight? Hi, Dwight.
Oh, hi, Dave. How are you? Dwight. I'm from the little town of Wardsboro in southern Vermont, serving on the River Valleys Unified District and also Wyndham Central Supervisory Union.
All right. Understood. Thank you.
Meet you.
And Michael. Hi, Michael.
I live in Grand Isle, and I'm currently the chair of the Grand Isle Supervisory Union Board.
Excellent. Nice to meet you, Michael. And finally, we are to Jack McCarthy. Hi, Jack.
Hey, Jack McCarthy. I'm from the St. Albans area. I'm on the Maple Run School Board and the Collins Pearly Advisory Board. And I was a superintendent in Franklin Northwest years ago.
Jack, I knew your name and face from something in the past. So nice to see you.
Yep, nice seeing you.
I can tell the group two of my favorite board members I ever worked with are Ken Fredette and Adrian Raymond, who I know have some close ties to this group. Don't hold that against me, especially with Ken. You know, that's a little bit risky to tell people you're a fan of Ken Fredette, but two fantastic people who served VSBA really, really well. So again, I'm grateful to be with you today. Let's get to it. So first, you know, I'm with you to embark on a strategic planning process, but this is not about redoing your strategic plan. This is about revisiting what you have and really identifying where the goals might need some tweaking based on the evolution of the world that we all inhabit today. And my goal, as I said earlier, is to leave our conversation tonight with a sense of what's on your minds, and that will help inform my preparation for more time spent with you in person during the month of May and then later on in June. So overall focus for tonight, align on process and purpose, reconnect a little bit to the foundation of the work you've already done, work with you to start to identify some priority areas. I hope you got that simple prompt that I just asked you to kind of noodle over and think about in advance, and then set our direction for May and June. Spelling out April, May, and June. Tonight, we're doing obviously what we're doing. In May, I want to take what I hear from you tonight, structure that and align that with your existing work that's already in place so that we can see where things match up, where there are gaps, and how to tackle any new ideas. And then the retreat time in June will really be about digging in and working together as a group in a workshop format to finalize a set of goals and help to contribute to the key indicators that the staff uses to be doing the work. I do want to say as an outsider, when I look over the tracking documents that the staff uses to keep track of the work and how it's done and where progress is being made or where there are challenges. Externally, I'm impressed by how the VSBA team manages this work and manages the tasks that are in front of them. I also want to say just spending some time in your equity lens tool and just seeing it's simple and straightforward conceptually, but the way you just structure your conversations and thoughts around concepts and how do these touch people from an equity standpoint. I just want to commend the organization on a solid and steady approach to that. And I know that your leadership and your systems reflects that, but your leadership within VSBA reflects that as well. Everything here connects. You know all this already because you do this in your personal lives, I'm sure, and you certainly do it in this world. Your vision and mission is pretty sturdy and pretty strong. We're not here to mess with that, right? Like what you believe and why you're doing the work you're doing has been established. This work is about the goals, looking at the goals and looking at how your vision and mission are implemented. And then the goal is to have that work lead to strategic focus areas, like I just said, and those key indicators that the staff are going to work on. Finally, just kind of a recap of what I stated earlier. As we look ahead, I'm looking forward to doing work with you in person because Zoom is good for a bit, but it's not good for much beyond just kind of, overviews. It's better to be in the room and looking eye to eye when we can, but we will do the heavy lifting in person during the month of May and in the month of June. Last slide I've got for you is just about the question, and then I want to just open it up to conversation. I want to encourage you to be open. I suspect some of you are really comfortable and eager to jump out and offer thoughts and ideas, and others might hang back and watch and listen a little bit. I want to encourage you to grab the opportunity to speak when you can. If you would give me the indicators, like the hand raise function to get you onto my radar that you've got something to share, that would be great. And if I don't hear from you, I'm going to try to make sure that I come to you and give you a chance to speak. But the question that I really would like to talk about this evening is this: if we think about the next 3 to 5 years, and I think it's hard to think past 3 to 5 years in our context today. If we think about that time frame, what should VSBA be focused on currently to best support, first, Vermont school boards, second, students across the state? I'm not suggesting the boards are more important than students, but just in terms of the list, how should we be focusing energy to support those two groups of folks, which is who you are in your positions to support? I want to encourage you to think about like overall direction, not what can we build specifically, but what needs to happen and what can we and should we advocate for and move towards. That's the question. Clayton, got your hand up. I want to thank you for getting us started. What can you share just that's on your mind with that prompt?
So one of the things that I'm worried about is, and one of the things that I think VSBA should advocate for is ensuring stability across the state. If the foundation formula goes forward, the bottom's going to fall out for a lot of the small towns. And so in the transition time which is what we're headed toward, is a massive transition, just advocating for stability across the board, advocating for all changes to be gradual so that the bottom doesn't fall out.
Clayton, can you go a little further when you define stability? I mean, gradual change and strategy makes sense.
I mean, this is straight up financial. When we're advocating that schools don't get immediately underfunded.
Mm-hmm.
And that this is just a straight finance question, that the bottom doesn't fall out financially for school districts where they're having to do massive layoffs and then all of a sudden can't educate their students before they can find new homes for them.
Got it. Appreciate that. Thanks for getting us started, Clayton. Jim, how about you?
Yeah, this will kind of follow up on Clayton in a way, in that for the next 3 to 5 years, I mean, we've spent so many years through the Act 46 and now Act 73, focused on, the governance and the whole, the very, very big picture, and kind of trying to play a game of survival to some extent of maintaining our system. I think, what over the next 3 to 5 years, I assume there's going to be rather dramatic changes, and VSBA is going to have to react to that. At some points we were talking about, is VSBA still going to have a role? And I've given that a lot of thought and had a lot of discussions over time. And I think VSBA's role, if anything, will be more important in the future than it has been in the past. But VSBA has done a tremendous job, but it'll change to, and this is where it feeds off Clayton. I think, one of the most, fundamental changes that's likely is the foundation formula. And this organization becomes an advocate for all of the school boards and districts to ensure that the foundation formula works in the way that it is supposedly intended to work, to actually provide quality of education. And if we can move a little bit away from, spending, a huge amount of time every year talking about governance structure, then maybe we can actually refocus ourselves on student achievement and things that really, should be more our focus. We should be spending more time on.
Appreciate that insight, Jim. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. Who else has something that they'd be willing to share to keep us moving? Yes, Tara, how about you?
School construction and funding construction and building the buildings of the future where we're going to be able to implement universal design learning and be able to support students in the way that they learn rather than sticking them all in straight row classrooms in little seats and expecting them to not fidget and learn.
Understood. That makes sense. Hey, quick question. This is maybe for, where did you go, Anne? Or for Amy. Amy, I've got to notice that Susan is waiting to be admitted. Is that under my control right now?
We don't need to let, she's a little bit late for some interviews, so
Okay, gotcha.
right now. Yeah.
All right, I will stay out of that then. I just want to make sure that nobody was lingering. Tara, thank you for sharing that. What else do we have? Gaston, what do you have, sir?
Yeah, just a couple of thoughts. The first is, as we're going through with education transformation, it appears the prediction would be that there are going to be fewer school boards. And I sort of wonder if we shouldn't begin to start talking about what the structure and function of VSBA would be in that sort of model. So much, some of the issues to be talked about would be funding. So do we keep everything that we have now and just charge more to fewer boards, or what does that all sort of look like for us? And then the other thing I'm wondering, when you talk about students, one of the things that I'm not really clear about, but certainly would love to learn more about, and that's the Vermont report card. When you start talking about, student achievement and so forth, it just seems that perhaps we need to go back and learn more and talk about exactly what the state is reporting to the nationals and, to the national, well, I guess that may not be around much longer either. But anyway, just to see what our report card looks like and what it tells us and that sort of thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Gaston, if I can just share, and I think I've got room to discuss this. I've been working on a project with the folks at VSA, the school business officials, and the Curriculum Leaders Association. So VSA, VASBO, and VITCLA, because we love our V's and our acronyms at Vermont, right? And they are looking at a possible merger process for those organizations that was fueled initially not by cost concerns, but fueled initially by bandwidth and advocacy concerns. But it's interesting, as that conversation has been evolving, you eventually get to okay, how are these members going to pay dues and what are they going to be? What will that structure look like? And we're talking about kind of system-wide dues structures as opposed to individual, fees for individuals. So I just share that because in your discussion about what would VSBA look like in a future unknown model, those are the same types of conversations. That's interesting stuff. Appreciate you bringing that up. Megan, hi there. How about you? What do you have?
All right. Well, I just want you to know the report card has been driving me nuts, and I've been sending my thoughts to the AOE. But more importantly, along those lines a bit, and everything else that's been said is important. Obviously, education reform is going to be like preparing boards to get through education reform should be, I think, the number one priority. But what has struck me the most, and that is really something that I struggle quite a bit with, is the huge disconnect between the AOE legislators and school boards. I think that school boards and the VSA are thankfully very aligned, along with the VPA. I think we're all aligned, but there's this massive disconnect between the AOE and the field, and frankly, many of the legislators that I'm talking to as well. At least, let me say legislative leadership for the most part. And I don't see any path that actually that helps students perform well unless we find a way to move forward together as one and all move in the same direction. And I'm very interested in figuring out the VSBA's role in that, and how we kind of find shared connection and moving forward. And that's some big meta stuff. But I don't know how we get through the next 5 years without moving meaningfully in that direction.
It's a well articulated dilemma you just spelled out there. Yeah,
Really hard, and it's not, yeah, and it's really hard. It's really easy to just snipe at each other, and I think there's a lot of sniping, and I'm a really good sniper, but I don't think that is what's best.
Understood. Thank you, Megan. Thank you. Floor, and then we got Neil after Floor.
Yeah, I think a lot of things come to mind to me, but I think there's two buckets: what we have the hopes of controlling and what we are going to be advocating for, right? So I think that Act 73, as we all know, likely is going to bring a lot of operational changes, and it's going to be more important than ever to do to strengthen our board's capacity in leadership and in governance. So I'm not talking about the programs, but we can't lose that core belief in our strategic planning, especially in policy and in advancing equity for all our students and student-centered decisions. So all of the things that the student report card and all of those things sort of fall into that bucket in my mind. Because the whole Act 73 has missed the opportunity to have a unified vision, it's going to be left to us to continue to bring that equity lens. So it's just having that, ensuring that all students across Vermont are going to have access to high quality opportunities. And with that lens, then comes all of the things that, we align resources, data, we can't quite control what AOE does with data of that, but we can keep enforcing that. And then not last, because I have a list of 7 things, but I'm just going to stay in 2. We need to continue. It's going to be more important than ever, that advocacy and clear communication. I think that we do a good job, and VSBA has to continue to do a good job of having that unified voice for the state level and helping have that lovable accountability and bring some steadiness in some things that feel really chaotic right now. So continue to prioritize, values and strategic action. And I don't know how to say that in a better way, but we're just gonna have to be the people that are holding people accountable, and at the same time be role models and focus on helping boards, because it's going to be, with all of the changes, without those support tools, we might face a lot of instability, and we need to continue to be that organization that brings steadiness to public education in Vermont.
Very good. Thank you, Floor. As we go on to Neil, I want to say one thing. I've been on a lot of video meetings with Neil, and if you put that background in front of me, I would say that's Neil Odell's video background. I just have always known that space. Neil, it's good to see you, sir.
I need to change my location in the house.
There you go.
So you see a more varied background. Thank you, Dave. For me, it almost seems very, I think that VSBA could best support boards by doing what we can to ensure that Vermont doesn't lose public education. I think that there is a lot of stuff going on right now that's both pushing and pulling and chipping away at the system, such that if we're not paying attention and doing what we can, that in a matter of 5 to 10 years, the constitutional requirement that Vermont provides the common benefit of a public education could be gone.
Could I ask the group, what Neil just said is a pretty scary and significant statement. Do other folks see that through similar lenses? Like, is that a yeah, interesting. Because I don't hear people say that, Neil. You know what I mean? I don't hear people say that out loud. So I appreciate you saying it out loud. And I could respect that the board may have some differing opinions among that, but it's good to know. I see a few different opinions. Jack, did you have your hand up for a comment on that?
Yes. I think Neil is right on. We have a Secretary of Education who is not certified in any position. She's not a teacher, she's not an administrator, not a superintendent, but she's in charge of an organization that grants other people those certificates. So, and then the messaging, and I guess my theme is authentic research. There's information going to people for political reasons that are saying our students aren't doing well. Vermont students are not academically up to date. They're scoring poorly on national tests and so forth. And it's really there. As an educator, I always want students to be doing better. To say our students are just fantastic, they're wonderful, they all are in the 99 percentile, that's fake news as well. But we have a Secretary of Education in our state who is telling people, and a certain political party is picking up on this. And when you have legislative breakfasts and meetings where legislators are talking, there are certain people that use this false information that say Vermont students are not doing that well. However, if you just go home and Google, how do Vermont students rank nationally? Google will tell you they're in the top 5 traditionally. We did have a dip because of COVID, but all the states, all students in all states had that dip. So to end my venting, I've heard some politicians use fake research saying our students don't do that well for political purposes. And I think that's, so I would say part of the strategic plan or a question would be to say that, I'm sorry, my wife is talking in the background. So we need to put authentic research as a topic, I think.
Thank you, Jack. I appreciate that. How about over to you, Joe, and then we've got Michael after Joe. What do you have, Joe?
So I was just following up on a couple of things I heard. Like, Megan was talking about the disconnect between the AOE and the legislators and the rest of us. And I think we could do a good job to facilitate communication. We're starting to do it, but I think we need to do more. I mean, we don't even talk regionally. There's all this talk going on, and everybody is
very insular, and what do I do to protect what I've got, and how do I deal with this problem? And the solution, I think, there is to reach out, not to turn in. And I think boards largely, the conversations I've had down south here, everybody's turning in instead of out.
That's actually well stated, Joe. Yeah, thanks for saying that the way you did. Michael, how about you, sir?
I completely agree with Neil. I think that we are facing the possible extinction of public education in Vermont in a decade, if things go on as they are. I think we need to understand how that opinion is being shaped, which factors are pushing people that direction to find that acceptable. I think we need to consider some active PR outside the education community. We talk to each other, we talk to the the legislature and the AOE, but I'm not sure we're getting our message out anywhere else. The other thing I would say is, this is actually a totally different issue, is the AOE capacity to me seems to be in a real crisis. And I don't know if there's anything we can do to support that. But it seems to me that the AOE, the current secretary, is relying heavily on external consultants and staff and such. And the AOE's internal capacity seems to be not good.
Understood. Thank you, Michael. Mark, as I come to you, I want to do a quick check with Sandra and Amy. Do I have time to make sure that we hear from Mark, from Barbara, and I feel like, and maybe from Dwight? I think those are the only folks that we haven't heard from. Do we have time for that in the agenda?
I would ask Floor
Yeah.
if we can yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it would be good to finish that work. We're a little behind on our agenda, but it's just fair that everybody has a chance. And if we need to cut some other stuff, we'll do that. This is important.
Okay, understood. Thanks, Flor. Thank you. Mark, over to you.
Just quickly, ironically, one of the most popular governors we have is the person that's undermining, I think, what Neil is saying. And it's very apparent in a very subtle and sometimes not so subtle way. And the way the Vermont Board of Education is set up, it's not a resource, it's not an ally. And so Neil's right. I mean, we're going down the wrong path here, and people keep voting for this guy. And if there was a change in governors with a better focus on why public education is important, it would make a big difference to us.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Barbara, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Well, I agree with most of what's being said, and I want to, one of my big things has always been education finance, and I think we've just assuming that the foundation formula is going to go ahead, I think is, we might look a little bit more closely at that, because frankly, I think it's just a way of the governor in particular who's driving the train. As Mark just said, this is the governor who's doing this, saying, I don't want to spend as much on education, and I don't really care how much it costs, or I don't care what the cost drivers are. He has never acknowledged the cost drivers, and a lot of it being outside the control of the local school board purview. I mean, sure, it's in control. If we slash staff, we won't have to pay for their health care, but that doesn't mean that we're going to be able to educate our children. And so the foundation formula to me is a ploy to say, I'm giving you what I say you need, whether that's what you need or not, and it's going to be a lot less than what you're getting now. And I think we have to pay close attention to that and see. I don't know what we could do about it, but it's a very dangerous time.
Thank you, Barbara. Dwight, how about you? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. I guess I have a little more optimistic view. I think if Vermont loses access to education, we'd be in a whole lot of trouble, considering it's written into our Constitution. So I'm a little more hopeful. And one of the reasons I guess I'm hopeful too is that I always feel that there's more that unites us than divides us. I think anyone involved in education, we're all trying to accomplish essentially the same thing. But what I will say is, getting back to some of the themes today, just earlier, is that there isn't much political will for these forced mergers from the state. So I think, be careful what you wish for. We're going to have another Act 46, like some others have mentioned, on steroids. So I think supporting local boards, taking some of that fear away from them. One of the reasons I got involved was for Act 46, because in our little community, we needed as many people to kind of understand what we were getting ourselves into. So, and supporting those boards during this transition, especially if we're going to be asked to do more voluntary mergers, is going to be of utmost importance. So that's what I think we should be focused on in the short term. Obviously, in the end, student outcomes and access to education for students is the most important thing. But this transition is going to be bumpy, and we're going to need to support them as best we can.
Understood. Thank you, Dwight.
Thank you.
All right. So you've given me a whole page worth of yellow pad. My next steps will be I'm gonna synthesize that and get all my own kind of thinking together around everything I've heard. That will help me build our activities for when I'm with you in the month of May. And I'll work with Sandra in the interim just to make sure that I got my timing and everything squared away and all set. So I just want to say thank you to you tonight for the time, for the contributions, for everything you're doing in your roles. And I look forward to seeing you in about a month or so, where we'll dig into this some more. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for joining
Thanks,
us.
Dave.
Night.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Good
Thanks,
night.
Dave.
Okay, board. I think what I'm gonna do is move us back to our legislative update. I think it's important for us tonight to hear those last two pieces. Are you okay with that, Sue?
Sure.
And then, okay, so let's go to the Bongart's plan where we left it.
Okay, so yes, the Bongart's plan is Senator Seth Bongart's proposal. It's in the Senate Education Committee. It has not moved out of that committee. There is, I think, general agreement on goals. They are looking to reduce the number of districts and SUs and relying on a future foundation formula. But the bill really remains in flux with unresolved questions around governance, equity, and how to ensure measurable financial outcomes. Part of the debate is how aggressively the state should require consolidation. The current framework proposes a two-phase approach, an initial voluntary merger period followed by a potential state board intervention if targets are not met. Lawmakers are sort of divided between maintaining local control and adding stronger enforcement mechanisms to ensure participation. The proposed target is roughly halving the number of districts to about 48 statewide. And the Senate Education Committee members have raised significant concerns recently about the lack of validated cost modeling to support the proposal. So while consolidation and a foundation funding formula are expected to generate efficiencies, there's no clear data demonstrating the scale or reliability of those savings at this point. And some of the committee members have been asking for that data in Senate Ed. Questions remain about tax impacts, sustainability, and whether structural changes alone will address major cost drivers. So as a result, the committee plans further modeling work and continued refinement of this proposal. And so that's where that one stands. And the last one I wanted to cover with you is H 955, which is the House Education Committee's reform bill, which did pass out of that committee and is now in the House Ways and Means Committee this week. So the House Ways and Means Committee, it's H 955, it has a bill number now. And the House Ways and Means Committee is spending this week focused solely on this bill. And also they touched on S220 today. S220 has passed the Senate, and I'll get into that one in a minute. They for a little while it seemed like there was a possibility that S220 might get folded into H 955, but I think the most recent news that I heard is that that's likely not going to happen. So in summary, H 955 advances the state's education reform efforts by establishing regional infrastructure and requiring districts to engage in consolidation planning, but it does not mandate immediate structural changes. For school boards, the bill signals a shift toward increased regional coordination and future governance decisions while leaving significant discretion at the local level over the coming several years. S220 was originally put forward as a spending cap to prepare school districts for the coming foundation formula. However, the Senate Finance Committee amended the bill and took a different approach, which is lowering the excess spending threshold from 118% to 112%, hoping to achieve the same preparation without having to reinvent the wheel with a hard spending cap. And as I mentioned, I don't think it's necessarily going to be folded into H955. So back to H955, what does it do? It emphasizes regionalization through the creation of 7 cooperative education service areas, and those are called CESAs, which are intended to function sort of like a BOCES style entity by coordinating shared services across supervisory unions. The bill assigns each supervisory union in the state to a CESA, and it requires CESAs to be managed by a board of directors composed of one person appointed annually by each member supervisory union board. And those appointed to the CESA board must be members of a member supervisory union board or the superintendent or designee of the member supervisory union. The bill does not mandate district consolidation. Instead, it requires districts to participate in merger study committees within defined geographic groupings, study the advisability of forming a unified union school district. And these groups must evaluate and ultimately vote on potential unification by 2028, creating a formal pathway toward consolidation while preserving some local decision-making authority. The bill also delays implementation of Vermont's proposed foundation funding formula, recognizing that funding changes should align with any future governance restructuring. It calls for further analysis of cost drivers and including pre-kindergarten integration. And additionally, H955 includes state-supported transition measures such as grants and facilitation resources to help districts navigate potential restructuring. I think somewhat at least acknowledging the operational complexity of those types of changes. So that is H955 in a nutshell, and I'll hand it back to you, Flor.
So we thought we'd do that when this is, I know that it's not come completely out and it's not ready for a vote yet, but I thought that we thought that the more familiar that we all get with this bill, the easier that we'll be there to examine it with our 12 criteria that we put together. So in order to do that, we started to sort of summarize it a little bit, so that makes sense to you. We were thinking that I'm not going to go in order because we know that criteria 1, they completely jumped the unified vision and mission, but we were thinking about giving you at least 5 examples of where we think that it's response to the criteria. And I know that there's going to be different opinions and we don't have a lot of time to discuss today, but I was going to start there. So if you would agree with that, I'm just going to go on and then you can ask questions later. Is that okay? Yes, I've seen some nodding heads. So one of our criteria is to recognize and address significant variations across different regions of the state, including student demographics, community resources, and other geographical considerations. So H955 Section 1B says that the General Assembly recognizes that Vermont schools anchor local economies and community identity, connecting young people to their homes while supporting workforce development and long-term stability. And on that, different regions of Vermont have different needs, challenges, and opportunities. The other criteria that we were thinking of highlighting today is emerge from a collaborative, inclusive, transparent decision-making process that incorporates meaningful engagement and input from residents, families, educators, district leaders, and school boards who will be most affected by the changes. H955, again, in 1B states that it is the intent of the General Assembly to ensure that local voice and community input retain an important role in Vermont involving education landscape. So in section 13, it states that if a study committee determines that it's advisable to propose formation of a new unified school district, the voters of each school district that is identified as necessary or advisable shall vote whether to form the proposed union school district or on or before November 7, 2028. The third criteria that we would want to highlight is to ensure equitable access to all students to public education opportunities, including academic programs, co-curricular activities, and support services, particularly by identifying and addressing inequities that currently exist in both access and outcomes. So in section 2, it states that the intent of the General Assembly that cooperative education services areas are utilized by member supervisory unions to maximize the impact of available dollars through collaborative funding, reducing duplication of programs, personnel, and services, and contributing to equalization of educational opportunities for all pupils. Don't worry, I'm going to give you time for questions, but number 4, and we're just going to do 5 today that we thought as we get more familiar with this. The fourth criteria will be recommend parameters for district size by enrollment that are large enough to allow efficiency at scale, but small enough to maintain a strong sense of community and personalized attention to every student supported by research. And I know that we have different opinions on this, but as a board, we supported the superintendent's policy recommendations. So research supports district sizes of 2,000 to 4,000 students. H955 section 13 states using the suggested school district groupings contained in section 14 as guidance, the facilitator shall group school districts together according to the following criteria. Total average daily membership of school districts forming a study committee shall be minimum of 2,000 students as practical. 2, school districts shall be continuous, and school districts on the same study committee may be members of different supervisory unions. And the last criteria that we were going to highlight today, be supported by detailed cost analysis and current district finances and projected savings through redistricting, including impact by staff levels and class sizes. Again, in section 13 requires the final report of the study committee to include an analysis of the educational advantage and disadvantages like a result from the formation of the proposed unified union school district, 2, the financial advantages and disadvantages likely to result from the formation of the proposed unified union school district, 3, the likely operation and financial viability and sustainability of the proposed new union, and 4th, any other advantage or disadvantage of the formation of the district, including the advantages and disadvantages to students and taxpayers of the region. Why this is important is that we've been pushing them really hard when we had meetings with them to use some data, and this is going to provide some solid data to them. And I think it was one of the things that we support, like we push in order to move this forward. Does that start to make you familiar with it? I know that we're going to have different opinions. Do you agree, disagree, Barbara? And we're not going to say, analyze the whole bill today. This is just giving you some background. Barbara?
Yeah, I have a question. A lot of concern has been that there hasn't been analysis and data seeing if there will be savings or how this is going to work. So is there appropriation in this bill for staff time, I don't know, from JFO or Legislative Council, or where is it going to come from to do what the things that is described in these sections are heavy duty lifting in terms of analyzing how it's going to work and how much it's going to cost and whether or not it's going to save and that sort of thing. Is that going to happen? And if so, who's going to pay for it? Does that make sense?
So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back to you so I don't speak out of. Go ahead, Sue.
Yeah, there is. I don't have the specific numbers right in front of me, but I can find them and tell them to you in a few minutes. And Mark may have them as well. There is an appropriation. There are a couple of different appropriations in the bill that pay for the facilitators to work with these study committees. And and that's all going to be, according to this bill as it exists right now, all of that would be done through the existing, what will be called a CISA. It's right now called a BOCES. It's in Windham, and I think a little bit of Windsor also County. It's in the southeast part of the state. And so there is an appropriation for the facilitators that are going to be working with these study committees. And there also is an appropriation for a study by the Joint Fiscal Office, particular to pre-K in this bill.
Okay, well, facilitator doesn't do analysis and number crunching or anything like that, so they'd still have this. I mean, we just might be back where we were before, where people are making statements about how this is going to save money, and we don't have any data showing that. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, and Barbara, what we are saying that there was going to be some data is because this analysis are going to provide some data before those final decisions are made, right?
I think that will be part of the process, because if you look at section, I believe it's section 13 of the bill, it requires that the report of the study committee has analysis of the financial advantages and disadvantages likely to result from the formation of the proposed unified union school district. Also the educational advantages and disadvantages, and the likely operational and financial viability and sustainability, and advantages or disadvantages to students and taxpayers. So I think that's where you're talking that some data would come out of these. Is that right, Flor?
Yes, yeah, and then the money, if I'm remembering right, when we had that final conversation, Sue, is like it's going to the AOE, and then from the AOE going to the consultants, right?
No, it's not going to the AOE. It's going
not the
to,
AOE anymore. Okay,
it's going to the existing BOCES, the one that already
okay,
exists.
to the CISA. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Jim.
One, I think when we're looking at a piece of legislation that and trying to put it against our criteria, I think generally the idea of using the legislative intent sections of the bill is, I think, kind of doesn't make any sense, because they always say it's going to be the greatest thing that's since sliced bread. And when it comes down to it, I think, as you're saying, this, what they're doing is they're forcing every school district in the state to start really this summer being in merger study committees. And, those merger study committees, if we all remember Act 46, merger study committees, we did have to come up with rationales for our own little system as to why things make sense or don't make sense. But that's hardly, any sort of way of showing that the overall concept of creating all these mergers, some mergers are going to make sense, some aren't. Each merger is going to, merger study committee is going to have to come up with their own rationale of whether a merger makes sense or not. But that doesn't do anything as far as providing proof that this approach is going to, on a statewide basis, be a positive from the standpoint of spending overall. And then the bill does call for all these, in the aftermath, after everything's been done, to have some analysis at that point, which, it would be great. Act 46, I think, said the same thing. Of course, that never happened. So, I guess, from I think to the extent, I think we need to focus on what the bill is actually doing versus what it says it's intending to do. And I think that, frankly, the analysis we've been asking for to ensure that the approach to, tackling better education and spending, it makes sense. We aren't getting any of that up front in my mind. So my comments.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Michael? And
Yeah, I mean, my first impression of it was it's just Act 46 Part 2. It feels an awful, I mean, it's complete with the many cumbersome aspects of Act 46 and internally divisive aspects of Act 46, which made Act 46 process so painful last time around. And we could go through all of this and have the experience we had, and I think many of us had, where we put out proposals that got partially shot down by various town votes, and we ended up with kind of a half-baked merger. So that's just sort of my first gut feeling was yeah, Act 46 all over again. I'm very worried about this externally imposed facilitator that we have no choice in. I and only half tongue in cheek have been referring to them as commissars because they have a fair amount of power. And we have no choice. You know, they're just sort of dropped on us. We have not even the ability to reject one and say we'd like another one. And I think we've all had the experience of having a bad mediator. Our district certainly has, where the mediator is doing more harm than good. And I think that could easily happen here if we get a mismatch. It's, you know, it's in some ways it doesn't have forced mergers. That's good. It has sort of, I would call pressured mergers, but at least they're not forced. It's more gradual. So there's some good things about there, but it basically doesn't address any of the issues really. It's a governance reshuffle without addressing the cost drivers or any of the education quality issues really. So that's sort of my take on it. Again, I could hold my nose and vote for this over some of the other bills that have been floating around, but very reluctantly.
okay, well, this is because I want to respect everybody's time. This is just the ability for us to start to get familiar. We're gonna go more in depth in the bill as we get updates. But for now, I'm gonna move us on, and you guys got a taste for our next meeting, which would be in person. And we might need, and I'm saying this without having consulted with Sue or Sandra or Mark, we might need to bring the legislative committee in if some action is needed sooner, right? But for now, we just wanted to give you a taste of what we're seeing and what we've been advocating for. I am gonna ask the board to maybe, just considering the time that we are in, maybe wait on the awards committee report and move into the appointment, sorry, table both the strategic plan monitoring report and the awards committee report and move into appointing the members for the resolution committee, which is really important that we do tonight. Does that make sense, Sue?
Yes, and I don't think it would take long to do the awards committee report. We also haven't done the communication with regions, and I think we really want to share the Windsor.
Yeah, I must, okay. And I was gonna leave the communication with regions to celebration before we close. I'm sorry to be moving the agenda all around you guys, but I really wanna make sure that we appoint the resolutions committee and the policy committee, and then we'll do the awards committee and the communications with the regions, if that's okay with you guys, because I think everybody's getting tired, and I know some of you need to travel here tomorrow. So I've been looking for volunteers. Sue, did you want to share the Article 10?
Sure. Just really quickly, Article 10 addresses committees of the Board of Directors, and the Resolutions Committee is a standing committee of the board. It consists of the Vice President, who shall serve as chair, and one representative from each region. And the committee will solicit and recommend positions to the Board of Directors for action by membership at the association's annual meeting. And Article 11 states that the regional representatives will select which of them will serve on the Resolutions Committee.
Okay, so I'm gonna just look for volunteers. Eastern Chilean region is gonna be represented by Megan, because Megan Metzler is gonna be your chair for that. So I'm gonna move, I need a volunteer for the Central Vermont region. Who's gonna be? Is it Bart or Emily? neither of them are still here, or are they here? I thought Emily was here.
Bart left
there.
both 627 and 629. They had to go.
Yeah, that's, oh, I see. I saw Bart had to go, but not Emily. Okay, so I am,
And they only got existing Kingdom South after May. So you might as well pick me.
I'm picking you. So wait, okay, so Western Chittenden region. Do we have somebody for the Western region?
Unless that's Suzanne Buck. Is that
Western
Suzanne Buck?
Western Chittenden only has the new board member, so
Oh, that's
she's it.
true. That's true. So she's gonna be it. Melissa is gonna be it. Okay, so Kingdom South is you, Clayton?
Because I want to, not because you're
want
making me.
to. No,
Not
yeah,
because
you
I'm the
want-
only one, because I really, really
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah, it's
Because it's
one of my
fun.
favorite committee. Yeah, Addison region, volunteer. Barbara is volunteering, I see. No, who was volunteering?
Suzanne said that she
Suzanne.
had to leave, but she wanted to be on it.
I thought you were volunteering somewhere in Barbara because you were on muting. Now Kingdom Run North region.
That'll be me. Thanks.
Gaston said
I
it.
want
That's
to.
done. Okay, Wyndham region.
Did it last time. I'm happy to do it again.
Yay, great, Joe. Franklin region. Okay, we're gonna have to do a
So you
little.
can see us both jumping on it.
Come
I
on.
think Michael will be great at it.
The only problem is I may not, when's the meeting? The
We
main-
haven't, they haven't decided yet for doing the work or for the annual meeting.
No, if you're doing the work.
For the, yeah, we Sandra and Megan will decide that, and so we'll decide that with a doodle poll, right? That includes all
Okay,
of you
well,
guys. So
I can put me on it, and if for some reason I absolutely can't do it, I'll see if we can get Jack to step up and replace me.
okay, Bennington region.
I am happy to do it.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Well, Rutland region. We have new board member, and so that's gonna have to be it. So Windsor is the last one. So I'm gonna put
Sorry,
Patty
yeah,
in.
trying to
the-
get to the mute button. I can do it, but I will also follow up with Nancy just to make sure that I wasn't stepping on her toes.
Okay. So I'm putting you tentatively right now, Neil, and I'll follow up with Gaston, and you follow up with Nancy. I'll follow up with Gaston, with Bart and Emily. Okay. So and I still, but I wanted to do a motion today to appoint them.
Do a motion to replace some if you have to.
Yeah, right. I guess as the president, I can appoint them. We could do a motion to have the president appoint them. Or I
Yes.
think, yeah.
Yes.
Can you do that? Gaston, you're doing that?
Yes, please.
Happy to second.
Okay, so Gaston and Jim, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, everybody. Okay, now we can move to the
Policy Committee.
policy committee. The award committee, I thought. No.
Pardon? We have to get the policy committee members. So the VSBA board's own policies say that the board shall undertake through a subcommittee a comprehensive review of all board policies at least once every 2 years. The last review and update was in 2024, so it's time for a review and possible updates. Usually we have, I would say, 3 to 5 members on this committee. It typically would only meet probably 2 to 3 times.
Do you get lunch?
Mostly we do it on Zoom. Sorry, Clayton. So you can bring your lunch.
Forget it. No. I'll do it.
Okay, Clayton.
Is the finance committee gonna look at the finance policies again? Is that the plan?
We'll do that
Yes.
separately.
Yeah.
Yes, the finance committee does the finance policies. This is only for the non-financial
Right.
policies.
Hey, Flora, this is Gas, and I'll sit on the policy committee. I do it for the SU, and I kind of
Okay.
enjoy it. So yeah.
Okay. Clayton, Gaston,
I'm getting
and
lunch.
Tara, you want to do it?
That's why I raised my hand.
Yay. Okay, Tara. All right. All right. Okay.
You want one more? Can I
we
nominate
were
Bart
hoping
in
for-
absentia? See, he seems like he knows things.
Okay, we'll nominate Bart.
Bart's also on the finance committee already.
Uh-oh.
so.
Yeah, that's true. So Bart is gonna be okay.
Okay, that's just he seems like he writes a lot of stuff down. So he seems real smart because he writes stuff down.
Okay, so we have Clayton, Gaston, and Tara so far. Mark is stepping down. Mark Clough, Dwight. I'm just looking to volunteers. She said yes. Sorry, Dwight. Okay. Right. Is that good, Sue?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you very much.
So can I have a motion to nominate Clayton, Gaston, Tara, and Dwight?
I so move.
Thank you, Barbara. Second by,
Happy to.
I missed the,
It was
it
Jim.
was Joe or Jim.
Clayton.
Okay. Jim. Wait,
Always Clayton.
Always
If you need to write it down for the minutes, it was me.
okay.
For sure.
You got it, Amy? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Raise your
Aye.
hand. Okay, any opposed? Any abstentions? Seeing none, the motion have passed. Okay, now for real, we can go to the communications with the communications with regions. I'm missing the words committee because you guys need one more person. The words committee, quick. Jack.
Neil was an alternate on that. You could step him up.
Yeah, but no, Jack and Debbie are gonna share, so.
So you want me to do the report now? Is that what
Yes,
you're?
yes.
Oh, okay. Real quick, because I know people are getting very tired. In the packet, pages 75 to 88, all the information about the 2 awards that we have are there for all the details. So please review the deadlines and so on and so forth. The major things I wanted to report is that we added another category on the Board Excellence Award coming from our conference that we had, where we had a theme of the relationship between the superintendent and the board. And so we added that category. And we had 3 questions that we would have the nominees answer under that category. So that would be the new thing on that award. The other thing to mention is fantastic committee. They appointed me chair, and there's no way I'm going to be as good as Mel. She did a fabulous job last year, and Neil, who was on that committee last year, and hopefully will be on it now again. Mark is leaving the committee because he's leaving the board of directors. So we have Tara Anderson, who did a great job. She's got some real good ideas about adding AI to help summarize things and put things in perspective quickly. But you can read from page 75 to 88 in the packet tonight. Great bedroom reading. It'll put you right to sleep. But please read about these 2 awards. And the major difference is the Board Excellence Award can be nominated by anybody, a board member, can nominate their own board, an administrator, a teacher, a community member. It's open to anybody. However, the Albert Bell Award is for an individual who has been outstanding in the educational field. You can see the list of the winners in the past, like Con Hogan, Ray Prue, Madeline Kunin, and so forth. Very, very famous people in that group. They can only be nominated by our membership. You have to be a VSBA board member to make that nomination. And with that, I'll close my report. We had major help from Debbie, and she did a lot of work with us, and without her, we couldn't survive. So thank you very much. That's the end of my report. And if you have any questions, give me a call.
Thank you, Jack. That was super helpful. Do we have a volunteer for the awards committee? Or we're gonna appoint Bart too? No, just kidding. Okay. Okay, we're gonna have a motion to appoint Bart to the to the awards committee.
Don't leave early, Bart. This is your own fault. I'm nominating. I'll make the motion.
Okay, so
I'll
Clayton.
second.
Okay, so Clayton and Megan. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the ayes have it. So the motion has carried, and now we need to do our consent agenda, and we'll finalize the meeting. And I'm sorry that I'm jumping all around, and we'll finalize with the regional report because it's really a great celebration. So the consent agenda, you had the March minutes as part of your packet. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion from Clayton.
Thank you, Clayton. Second by Barbara. I see your hand. Any discussion or amendments to the meeting minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the minutes have passed. And now, Neil, and do you wanna share? Because I know Nancy is not here now. Do you wanna share?
I will let Sandra kick it off.
It's okay.
Can you all see those pictures? Let me make it
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Yes, so the Windsor region had their meeting, and Neil's going to tell you details, but here are some photos. We had around 14 people in attendance. I believe it was very well received. People were very engaged, and Neil can tell you more about that. And then I'll just let you know that this month, Wednesday the 29th, we will be in Kingdom North, starting with their regional celebrations. So Neil.
Thanks, Sandra, and special thanks to Sandra and also Nancy for pulling this whole thing together. They both did a lot of work to make sure that the event went off without a hitch, despite some even last-minute changes with some of the catering that we had to work through. I think everybody that showed up enjoyed the opportunity to meet in person, right, over a little bit of a meal and just talk about school board stuff. I believe that we did steal an idea from Gaston and gave it a test run, and that was to have Sandra go through our website to let folks know, what opportunities, what resources are available to them, and where to find it. Also encourage folks that may not have had an account for some of the protected sections of the site to get an account and to sign up, and we showed them we walked them through that and showed them how to do that. And then we just opened it up after that just for a general discussion of, things that are on folks' minds. What are they working on? What are the challenges? What are the issues? And I think that was a very valuable part of the evening was for board members to share, what's going on locally, what questions we had, and for others to hear that, but then also to respond with ideas and suggestions like, well, have you thought of that? And we've done this, and sorry to hear that's what you're going through in your district, but You know, I think we have a tendency to sort of get into our silos and we're myopically focused on our own board work. And to be able to hear what's going on with others in their districts is a little eye-opening, I think, sometimes. And we realize that no, we're not we're not the only board in the state. And also sometimes that some of the challenges that we are having are happening in other areas of the state as well. I even got feedback after the meeting, which was very positive, and actually ended up spending some time with one of the board members who had some follow-up questions about education finance, of all things, in this state. So I met with one of the board members from Hartford for a little over an hour one night, just walking through the funding formula, the history of it. You know, a lot of those things that I think a lot of us know fairly well, just because we've been doing this for a long time, can be new and confusing to newer folks. And so taking the opportunity to reach out and to, you know, have those conversations, share the knowledge that we've got with folks that maybe are just starting out on this. Super rewarding for those of us that have been doing it for a while. It was for me, and I think it's also super helpful for the new board members. So, you know, if this is an indication of what the rest of you can expect for your regional meetings, I think you're going to have a great time. And I think it's an excellent opportunity to get the VSBA name out there, and let folks know what good we do.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Sandra.
Oh, and I should say we had our distinguished president with us that evening as well too. So Flor made the trip all the way down from Montpelier, and it was wonderful to have her with us as well.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was great to see people in person. I was calling them for those of you that knew Clarence. Clarence used to travel in his truck and to all of the regional meetings, and I was just like, you know, might not make it to all, but it's a good way to get to know people across the state now that we can do it. So it was really well done. And Nancy bought all the food. It was really great.
And we had carrot cake.
And she had
We had
carrot cake for
carrot
Neil.
cake.
Yeah, and carrot cake was the most popular thing in the entire menu. Amy, I'm wondering, do you want to share a little bit about the recent communication? And everybody's been so good about it.
Yes, they have. So last week I sent out a regional communication to everyone. This included a reminder about the new board member academy, as well as information about this year's resolution process. Several of you have already sent them out, so thank you very much. If you haven't had a chance to do it yet, please take the time to go ahead and send that out so we can encourage our folks to submit a resolution, or at least start thinking about what they'd like their resolutions to be. And if you have any questions or need any help with the tool, just let me know.
Okay, so that brings our meeting to conclusion. I'm not going to do new business right now because we have a full agenda kind of for May already. So thank you everybody for coming today. Do not forget about the self-evaluation, please.
And are you going to approve the March minutes?
We did.
Oh, you did? You approved the March minutes already?
Oh, I didn't call the vote. I thought I did. Yeah,
You did. Okay,
had
sorry.
Clayton and Barbara and
I
everybody.
motioned to approve the March minutes and it got seconded, and I'm pretty
Okay.
sure we voted.
Yeah, we
Okay.
voted. It was Clayton and Barbara, and we unanimously voted. Do you have it, Amy?
Okay, I'm sorry, I
Pretty
missed
sure I
that.
did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it before because I wanted to leave the celebration at the end. Okay.
Flor, could I just have 2 minutes?
And one last thing. Before we completely adjourn, I just wanted to thank Mark for his service. Wondering if you want to come to the May meeting, it would be nice. So publicly invite you with everybody here. If you could come to the in-person meeting.
Oh, okay, okay.
For the transition, because it's
Thank you.
it's not like I don't want to do the goodbye right now. It would be more
Okay,
meaningful in
thank you.
person. So if you're okay with that, that was
Perfect.
what we would like, because
do
before we
that.
were counting on to the end of in September to do it at the conference, right? But since you're not going to be there, if you could come to the May meeting, that
Now
would
we're
be
having
great.
cake.
And we'll figure out what cake Mark likes. Otherwise, it's carrot cake, Mark.
Over.
Over. Is Michael still here? Okay. All right. So thank you, everybody.
Good
for
night.
Coming
Thank
tonight.
you.
All right.
Good night.
Night.
Have
A motion to adjourn?
a motion to
Second.
adjourn.
Second.
Jim and Clayton, all
Aye.
those in favor, please signify by leaving. Bye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Thank
Night.
you.
And thank you to our staff. You guys are amazing. Okay,
Thanks, Laura.
bye. Bye.